Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Treemoss here, and I have a really interesting idea. So, we love the CRT in the background. This is something that we're huge fans of. I think it very much fits the vibe. Right now, we got some Mario RPG, which is super cool, but I think what we're gonna do is take some retro style graphics and put that as the background, and that'll just be constantly in the background of these videos, and I'll update them over time. But I think what would be really neat is if we take the Treemoss logo and kind of apply it in the style of like early 2000s, like mid 1995 stuff, and like a DVD menu bouncing around kind of thing, in the style of kind of like Adult Swim bumps, and then maybe put those to music. That way we could have like a whole complete design of what that looks like. Obviously we won't have the background music going on in the videos, but my idea is to put it on a VHS tape. Now hear me out. I'm gonna put that VHS tape in the VCR, let that play, and it'll loop over, and it'll be a lot easier for the background stuff. What I think would be really cool is if we designed the stickers and everything that goes on the VHS tape along with the box, and take you guys along for that process, and then maybe just go release that out in the wild somewhere. Someone would see that and be like, what the hell is this? I'll make a couple of those and maybe they'll be available. Let's jump into what some motion graphics would be a good idea to apply on the CRT. And then we'll get all grainy and really full of sauce, right? So let's jump into it. We're going to attempt making something in this 4:3 aspect ratio, which I have up on Google right here. And this is basically our CRT. This is the canvas that we have to play with. And what I think would be really cool is if we attempted to do something like have our logo, and from here we could have this bounce around like a DVD menu, and that could be just one of the style of bumps, right? I think that'd be pretty cool. So if we do that, and then maybe like play around with like the background to kind of give some bad static, like TV static, that would be an interesting idea. So let's jump into Final Cut. So if we do custom and we go back to our resolution here, which we had pulled up on Google, that 1024 by 768. And we'll do this in 24 frames. Let's drop in our logo. This is more than likely what we will need to be bouncing around, but we want to have some kind of like cool effect going on to it. And we'll do the keyframes and how we want it to bounce around. But I think first we want to set up our actual background, which would be just a very simple panel. Something in this vein where we'll come in, we'll make this like a gray color, something like that. Yep. And we'll export this. Okay, cool. So we got our CRT back. Let's drop it in. And we'll put this layer on top. There we go. Cool. So imagine this layer as the background, and this is just in the foreground. We'll have this loop around. Let's just give it a minute. I think that's fine. And we'll start there. So this is a little too big. We'll probably make it about that size. I think that'd be cool. Yeah, okay, that'll work. And from here, we'll have this basically bounce around like a DVD menu. And we just have to create a custom path for it to do that. And I think what would be the easiest thing to do here would be to start in this bottom corner. It's probably the right call. So we'll take our position. We're not really doing anything with scale here. So we'll go to 5 seconds. And we'll drag that to the other corner here. And then another 5 seconds. Almost like a bounce back, but on a different trajectory. Here's our animation as it sits right now. Looks pretty convincing to me. I'm thinking that we'll need to edit it quite a little bit, but that's okay. This absolutely gives that bouncing around DVD player vibe that we're looking for. And then what we'll do to just get it reset back to 1 is basically just reverse this, and I think that'll be perfectly fine. So that's where we end here, and it ends in that corner. So we know that it'll end in that corner every time, and it'll be kind of natural for it to repeat because it's coming off of that corner, I think. So what we do here is cool, that works. So we'll drag this out to about 2 minutes, then we'll turn this into a compound clip. Compound clip's basically going to take that animation and turn it into a video, is kind of the easiest way to think about it. Then we'll duplicate that and then reverse it. So it'll give it a seamless transition back to kind of doing what it was before. And we could just come in and kind of make sure that it doesn't hang out in that corner too long. So somewhere around here, and then about there. It's about this, and we should have a pretty easy bounce back. Perfect. That's what we're looking to do. So we'll take this, create that as a compound clip, and it'll just basically repeat this. And now we have basically a 2-minute loop of our logo doing some DVD player style stuff. And I think that's really neat. From here, this is where we get to be creative and kind of add our effects and just like, what do we want to happen here? So bad TV is by far one of my favorite effects, because it'll automatically give off that vibe. And then we can have it, get pretty bad at some points and then not be as bad. So like we could actually play around with the intensity of how much bad TV we want. So to kind of make that just random, I'm just gonna do this. And now that's gonna actually like change the variability of how much bad TV effects going on here. And what would probably be a good idea is if we were to just change this to TV static. Yeah. So now we have a specific variability in how this static is going to change over time. That way it's not a static thing. And I really like that idea. I think that's pretty neat. So you could see how the amount is changing, and it's just done by keyframes. So from here, I think what would be really neat is if we kind of had like a prism feeling, like a color prism. And this is all stock stuff within Final Cut. Final Cut's got some really cool built-in effects, really. So if we look at prism, there we go. We're gonna put that on our tree. And you could already tell it's kind of doing a really cool thing where it's separating the colors. And we could change the angle and how we want that to separate. So what I think would be a really cool idea is if it were to kind of separate each time it hit a corner. So like right here. So what we'll do is set a keyframe and have it separate basically when it comes out on that corner. So anytime it gets to the middle, I'm basically just taking it out. And this is by no means, perfect, but I think that's kind of the beauty of it. It's more about it existing than it necessarily being perfect, because it never will be. This is kind of our halfway point. So let's check in and see how it. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Very nice. So let's get about right here. And we could just chop this off. And copy this. Paste it in reverse. Perfect. All right. So that's just for reference. What I'd also like to do is add a little bit of texture to this Treemoss logo. So I think another case of bad TV would be a really good way to go about that. And we could do that just like this. And we want pink noise. How we want that to show up is subtract. I think that's a really good way of doing it. So now we're just kind of emulating how warped it gets. Yeah, there we go. And I don't really want a whole lot. I just want it to be like it's moving somewhat. And then we could get real wild here and do a visual echo. If we want kind of like that trailing off effect, which I don't think is a bad idea by any means. I just don't want it to be too much. There's trails. Yeah, that's what it is. It's trails. See, look at that. And then I want the trails to be affected by the bad TV. Yeah, there we go. It's a little too much. Perfect. It's a little disorienting. We kind of got what we are looking for as far as like the main premise of it. So let's copy this, paste. Then we'll reverse this clip. And it's not perfect, but I don't want it to be. And we could do a little less, I think, would be fine. Yeah, okay. So now we get to play around with our background. And the background is what's going to really kind of sell this thing. I'm going to see if I have some footage that would be an interesting take on this. Because as we all know, the DVD background stuff isn't really going to change a whole lot. But we get the opportunity to do some pretty neat stuff here. This is kind of what I was thinking. So I've actually tested doing something like this before, and we're gonna use that background. What we're going to do here is drop that opacity of that gray. And probably just change its blend mode. Yes, that's what we're looking for. Then we'll fit this so it's sure to hit our screen. And look at that. That is going to show up really cool on the CRT. Yes. So from here, all we're going to do is more than likely we're going to want to make this background a little darker. And then we get the chance of being able to also add a bit of texture to this as well. I'm thinking Prism might be a cool way to separate these items. So this is basically chromatic aberration. And there's a little bit of it going on already. But I really like the idea of being able to use it in this context. I know I said I wanted it darker, but I kind of don't. There, that's kind of what I was looking for. There we go. There we go. Because I just want it to be playing in the background. It doesn't need to show, like, it's not the main feature. The main feature is the DVD menu. Now that we got our DVD menu created in Final Cut, we're basically going to take this and export it out into the TV. And I have some cables that'll make that conversion. And then record the screen on the VHS. And it's already going to add a bunch of really cool effect by being analog, converting to digital and everything. So we're going to test that out and see what the results are in our little DVD menu screensaver. We did it. There's the DVD Treemoss menu. It very much fits the vibe. So it took about 2 hours. 2 hours to record onto this VHS, and it's just looping over. And what we're going to do is either add on to the tail of it or on top of it. And the more degraded it ends up getting, the better, in my opinion. I am very stoked to be able to do this, and this is the kind of thing I need to move forward and just creating more projects that don't necessarily have an outcome other than just making life better. This is very therapeutic for me. Stay tuned if you like this type of content. Stay tuned if you want to just hear more about my story, how I got here, how I learned all this stuff, and it's gonna be a really cool ride. You know, this is very fun for me, and it's been a long time coming. Biggest part was that getting over how this needs to look, and it doesn't need to look anyway other than it needs to happen. Let's keep rolling with that mentality. On the next round, I feel like we'll add another couple bumps or two to this and then start adding in some soundtrack ideas. My name's Treemoss. I really appreciate you spending some time with me today. Thanks for tuning in. See you soon.